And now, live from the Macon studios of News Talk 940 WMAC, it's Your Money.
Good morning, Middle Georgia. It's great to be with you again, and welcome to Your Money. We are Randy and Sherry Goss with Rosenberg Financial Group. And as financial advisors, the main thing that we do is provide retirement planning and advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. If you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact our office and set up your complimentary consultation. Our office number is 478-922-8100, and we have offices in Macon and Warner Robins for your convenience. And to find out more about us, visit our website, retirerelax.com, where you can read a number of special reports and listen to past radio show broadcasts. And you can sign up to receive our digital feeds, which provide great information on various subjects in short video format. We also offer free seminars to the community. So if you have a member of a church or a civic organization and you're looking for a guest speaker, give us a call. We'll connect you with Sherry, and y'all can hammer out the details of what you're looking for. And congratulations, you have one coming up very soon with Wesleyan College. And if you'd like to call into the radio show today, the number is 478-742-0940. And you can send me an email to randy@rfmoney.com if you don't want to hear your voice on the radio show, and we'll handle your topic in a future broadcast.
Perfect.
Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning. I feel way too relaxed.
Do you? Wow.
I don't know what's going on. I think I slept good for the first time in a week.
Well, maybe I did too. So if we start snoring on the show, y'all will know what's going on.
So global market shares hit 2-month lows on Friday. This is going to be kind of boring stuff, but it's important. While the U.S. government bond yields remain near recent 16-year highs, as investors bet on interest rates staying elevated for longer, with worries over China's shadow banking sector also a dampener. We'll do more on China in a minute. There were disagreements between Fed officials this week about what they will do regarding interest rates, which creates volatility. Friday, $2.2 trillion in options expired. This trading volume can cause fluctuations in stock prices, which creates volatility, but does not impact the company's fundamentals.
Yeah, and I thought it was going to be worse than it was. I anticipated a much more volatile marketplace Friday, but it basically closed flat.
Yep. Borrowing costs have sent housing affordability. Now, listen to this. This doesn't make any sense. And this is a quote out of Wall Street Journal. Borrowing costs have sent housing affordability to the lowest level in almost 40 years. Average mortgage rates on a 30-year loan have crested 7%, a level not seen since 2002. So they must be combining the interest rate plus the higher cost of homes. That has to be what they're doing. And as rates could go as high as 8% as uncertainty continues to cloud the Fed's September decision, increased borrowing costs have weighed on buyers and sellers alike, with existing home sales significantly down from June of last year. Homeowners are reluctant to give up their current mortgage rates, causing prospective buyers to sit tight. I've seen a lot of that. This puts even more pressure on an already volatile housing market. So big news this week was about China's economy. And so hang with me here, because this is a little boring, but it's very important.
It's very important.
China's desired post-pandemic recovery is not steady, nor perhaps even a recovery anymore. Last week, a bunch of data made the case for deflation occurring in China, and everybody thought that China's reopening was going to improve markets everywhere because of their purchasing power. Credit numbers on Friday...
And you still can. It's just got to get there.
Yep. Credit numbers on Friday showed a major slump in demand for Chinese business and consumer borrowing. New local currency bank loans plunged by nearly 90% in July from June, to the lowest level since 2009. What's more, the country's top private property developer, Country Garden, is reportedly close to default. This week, the Chinese government reported more bad news, if you could find it.
Right, and the reports show that Chinese industrial production is down, Chinese retail sales are down, and the overall Chinese urban unemployment for the month moved higher as well. And these numbers make it difficult for China to achieve the government's 5% GDP growth target for the year without significant stimulus programs aimed at boosting nearly all of its key sectors. But even more telling than the numbers was that China officials' statistics bureau stopped breaking down the unemployment by age. Why, you might ask? Because youth unemployment had risen to a record high of 21.3 in June, and that number is likely much higher now. And according to NBC News, the decision to withhold monthly data on youth unemployment met a backlash online from the Chinese youth. Where social media users accused officials of trying to bury the bad news. And to put it in a clearer way, the current data looks very bad, so don't start looking for it. One of the the youth wrote on Weibo, which is a micro-blogging site. There was a relevant hashtag drew more than 180 million views. Young unemployed graduates also expressed anger over the decision to withhold the data. Casey Sun, 24, has been unemployed since graduating 2 years ago, and she just blatantly said, they're lying to us every day.
That's because China's central bank's response to this stream of data is an acknowledgement from the government itself that the Chinese economy is slowing more than many people had thought. This week, the People's Bank of China cut short-term interest rates by 10 basis points, or 0.1%, just a few hours after lowering medium-term rates by 15 basis points. And this could be just the start of major stimulus efforts. This is after data came out earlier this week that new loan growth in China has substantially slowed despite the presence of abundant liquidity. This increases the chances that China's loan prime rate will also be cut when rates are announced next week. Steps to increase liquidity in the Chinese economy haven't translated into economic activity, likely due to low business confidence that stems from the hits the Chinese real estate industry has taken in the last several years.
And the growth in prices of newly built homes in China has steadily fallen after President Xi Jinping declared in 2017 that property should be lived in, not for speculation. They removed that wording in the past Politburo speech. Whether the prices start posting healthy growth again depends on a lot of Beijing's being able to address the current debt issues facing developers, as well as convincing Chinese citizens that it will no longer attempt to kill the ability of property to rise in value. Millions of people hope for a better life through the time-proven ability of real estate to increase wealth. That's why 70% of Chinese households' wealth is in property. Take it away to generate a solid return, and you douse people's dreams of attaining better life for them or their children. And China is very notorious for building and having nobody in these buildings.
Oh, entire cities.
So
building entire cities are absolutely fake.
For them to come out and say, things should be lived in or worked in.
I've never heard that before.
It's like talking out both sides of their face.
People become more anxious about the future, and they will hold back on spending. Beijing will likely come out with more measures to try to restore confidence in the coming days and weeks. All right, so the Chinese economy is slowing. 1 out of every 5 young people living in Chinese urban areas can't find a job, and it looks like the government will ramp up stimulus efforts soon. But this scenario may still seem foreign and insignificant to you. So here are 4 takeaways for what trouble in China could mean for you and your money.
And the first one is the short-term impact on the U.S. dollar. The first macroeconomic takeaway is that stimulative Chinese economic policy could mean a weaker yuan in relation to the U.S. dollar, at least for now. You may ignore currency moves in your own portfolio, but they are hugely significant. As we've said many times before, a stronger dollar on balance compared with other major global currencies has meant lower prices for stocks in general over the past few years, and vice versa. And the dollar has risen about 2.5% versus the Chinese yuan in just the past few weeks. This may not seem like a big move for the dollar index, but the recent behavior has pushed its way through the 50-day moving average, and as of today, or that would be yesterday, is 200-day moving average as well. A sustained move above that measure of a technical long-term trend could be bearish for stock prices ahead. Of course, it might not last. The Federal Reserve, which is the answer to the U.S.'s answer to the People's Bank of China, is also signaling it may do its own version of easing up on monetary policy by possibly pausing rate hikes spree. This could weaken the dollar relative to other currencies. So, any strong dollar headwinds that may result from Chinese or other nations' weakness may be short-lived for U.S. stocks too, and we're just going to have to wait and see on that.
So, number 2 is the impact globally. In any case, serious slowdown from the world's second largest state economy will be a drag on the global economy. Like it or not, Chinese growth over the past few decades have contributed greatly to global growth. Over the longer run, a weaker Chinese economy may help U.S. fortunes by possibly bringing down inflation, and if there are any capable U.S. government leaders out there, providing some leverage in various geopolitical tensions. Lower export prices from China could also benefit U.S. companies, but fewer imports to China could also mean less profits for businesses in various other economies like in Europe, and we're going to talk about that in a minute.
And the next one, number 3, is it foreshadows what could happen here. Remember, rate cuts, while intended to boost economic activity, only happen from the central bank when things aren't going well on their own. It's certainly the case from China today. Now that now that you have leaders of one of the world's largest economies looking to stimulate things as it copes with the threat of deflation, if the Chinese stimulus is successful, it would boost inflation by juicing prices. This is a scenario that the Fed could face down the road if it's looking to boost the economy amid rising unemployment. If inflation is still historically high, decisions will need to be made. Or if deflation is something to address, that means nobody is going to be happy.
Last one, number 4, a state of unrest. Last but not least, and probably most important over the long run, an economy in need of support is more evidence of unease among the people of China and a backdrop of possible unrest. This could further contribute to its leaders' geopolitical angst with respect to any number of issues, including those of the U.S. with respect to China and Taiwan. You may have heard President Joe Biden's latest comment at a fundraiser that China is a ticking time bomb because of its economic situation, saying that when bad folks have problems, they do bad things.
And I agree.
Rioting in the
nations
streets.
Like that, yep. Anyway, maybe it might be another Tiananmen Square over there. You know, the guy standing in front of the tank. We'll have to wait and see how that shakes out. The people there are tired of being lied to, is what it sounds like. Anyway, a little bit more on China, though, but not much. China's worsening economy is hurting corporate America. Companies embedded in China's ailing manufacturing, construction, and export industries are reporting weaker sales. In some cases, they're warning of future trouble to come as growth grinds to a near halt and economic readings are dour. The slowdown is registering in earnings results across a range of companies, from chemical giant DuPont and Dow to heavy equipment suppliers such as Caterpillar. Some companies expressed disappointment with Beijing's stimulus measures and have cut their sales outlook for the countries into this year. The CEO of Danaher commented this week that China's orders were down 20% in the first quarter, 40% in the second quarter, but really 50% in June. It was describing the downturn in sales of the economy's bioprocessing equipment. He went on to say that he did not see that it's getting better in the second half of the year. Some executives have warned of global knock-on effects as consumers and customers in other geographies also feel the pain from reduced demand in China, resulting in a cutback in orders and lower revenue in other parts of the world. The pain isn't being felt evenly, though. Companies tied to recovering sectors such as domestic tourism posted improving results. Hotel chain Marriott reported a surge in its demand for rooms in China amid the rebound in domestic travel, adding that it was generating more revenue per room now than it did in 2019. And Starbucks...
This is crazy.
It is. Said 2019, COVID, not many people were using hotel rooms during that time.
I'm not crazy. Starbucks is...
Right.
This is crazy.
Right. And Starbucks said on August 2nd that China revenue grew 51% in its most recent quarter compared with a year earlier, after logging a 3% increase in the prior quarter. Apple reported revenue for this region that includes mainland China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan.
And that is because China has abruptly ended zero COVID restriction in December, fueling hopes for a rebound that would be felt globally. After a brief economic bounce, however, readings of the world's second largest economy have been disappointing. Manufacturing activity has contracted, exports have declined, consumer confidence remains fragile, and youth unemployment has risen to record highs. More worrying for some companies, recent data showing an unusual drop in consumer prices have raised concerns that the country could be entering a deflationary spiral of progressively weakened demand. The anticipated economic rebound following the end of zero COVID restriction has yet to fully materialize, says the CEO of Dow Chemical. The company blamed a decline in second quarter income on a slow recovery in China, leading to reduced prices for its products.
Yeah, and meanwhile, rival DuPont earlier this month said that sales from existing operations in China fell 14% in the second quarter compared with a year earlier, mainly because of the frail demand for consumer electronics. Those headwinds contributed to its decision to cut the overall growth outlook for the second half of the year, the company told investors recently. DuPont CEO Howard Breen said the company expects growth there to pick up eventually, but it will be a lot later than expected. At Caterpillar, the company executives earlier this year forecast lower than usual sales out of China, which typically accounts for between 5 and 10% of its revenues. That outlook has recently worsened due to a downturn in sales of the company's heavy excavation equipment, which makes up the bulk of Chinese-based business. China's broader economic malaise has come despite efforts by Beijing's policymakers to juice the economy, including through a series of interest rate cuts, designed to spur lending. Economists widely see the efforts today as meager, and some company executives express disappointment with the stimulus efforts to date that haven't borne more fruit. The Wall Street Journal has reported that Chinese officials are planning further measures, including the possibility of billions of dollars in new infrastructure spending and efforts to shore up the country's weak property market.
Yeah, they got to get people a job somewhere.
That's right.
We must remember that this is not just China that is going through these pains and setbacks in their post-COVID recovery efforts. The rest of the world is also playing catch-up. With China, though, their splash, whether it's a positive or negative issue, produces a greater ripple felt around the world.
That's right.
So enough about China, but it is very interesting, and it does affect everything you buy that comes from there.
I mean, we are a global economy, so as they mentioned here, the ripples that one country puts out will affect us. It just depends on what you're invested in and how you're invested. So, if you are in a holding that's heavily invested in China, don't expect it to be giving you good returns right now. That's the bottom line.
But you don't need to stop out of it either, depending on what kind of company it is.
That's right.
I mean,
it could be a good
these
company.
Are good companies.
It's just going to be waiting for the turn. So just hold your horses and do some research.
Yep. So a follow-up to a caller last week about school zone speed cameras. I went out and did some research. While speeding camera technology has been around for years, a new state law was passed in 2018 to regulate drivers in school zones and near school buses. Part of that law provided for a new way of ticketing drivers, speed cameras. The cameras flag drivers going at least 10 miles per hour over the school zone speed limit and send them a ticket with police approval.
And I tried to find out how many of these existed in Georgia, and I couldn't find the current data. I found some news articles, and I'm going to cover a little bit of that in a second.
Camera company Red Speed USA, based in Illinois, installs and operates the cameras. They monitor speed and read license plates of cars going through the school zones. Red Speed also helps local police departments issue the tickets and shares the revenue with them. The partnerships between cities and Red Speed were made possible by House Bill 978, passed in 2018. The law allows speed cameras to be used for traffic, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, and the fines are $75 to $125.
Right, and drivers caught up by the cameras usually will pay less and face lesser penalties than if a police officer pulled them over. Officers can use his or her discretion to pull over someone going even 1 mile per hour over the posted limits. Tickets given by officers are typically come with points on a driver's license, which the camera tickets do not. The $0 price tag is an attractive selling point for cities, though. Instead of charging for the cameras, the installation, and monitoring, Red Speed gets all of its revenue from a 35% cut of every fine from a ticket given through a camera. The remaining 65% of the money is earmarked by each city and county for public safety improvements in accordance with the House Bill 978.
So in order to get the cameras up and working, the company and the cities it's working with must conduct traffic studies of the school zones where they want to use the cameras. The findings are submitted to the Georgia Department of Transportation, which issues a permit for the camera if it agrees there's a need for them. In Duluth and Lilburn, officials were shocked at the level of speeding in some school zones. School zone speed limits are typically between 25 and 35 miles per hour twice a day, while students and buses are arriving or leaving. More than 8,000 people were clocked going at least 10 miles per hour over the speed limit in Duluth school zone in a one-day traffic study, according to the police department.
Yeah, that's 600,000 fines in 1 day, or 390,000 after Red Speed gets their cut.
So more than 1,400 super speeders going 15 miles per hour or more over the speed limit were recorded in a 10-hour period at 2 Lilburn schools.
And that's, for the county, that's going to be $113,750 in profit in 1 day.
Yeah.
Yep.
The goal is to make our school zones safer, especially at the schools with a high concentration of pedestrians. My note, and to make some money at the same time. What a great business model. I wonder how much maintenance they require. I imagine if they had these on I-75, just doling out tickets automatically, how much money the state of Georgia could make. Yeah,
there was an article in the Macon Telegraph this week discussing the cameras around Macon Bibb. The article states that school zone speed limits have been enforced since the start of the school year in Macon and Bibb County. And I know Warner Robins is also having the same issues there as they are here. Schools like Appley Middle School, Westside High, and Southwest High Schools have cameras in their school zones. And when the flashing school zone light is off, the speed limit on the street is 35 miles per hour. Once they're turned on around 1:35, the speed limit drops to 25. So, and one of the nice things is that the signs that they put up is, big sign that says photo monitoring. So if you see that sign,
put on the brakes.
Check your speed. But we are becoming much more reckless, it seems to me. I've seen some of the craziest drivers, and school zones are no different. So, I just wish we'd all slow down and be a little more polite to each other. Just because you're driving a 2,000-pound car doesn't mean everyone's going to get out of your way. So, anyway, here's an article that I wanted to cover a couple of weeks ago, but it never made it around to it, and it's how to stop getting spam calls. And I know that a lot of you are frustrated with it, as I am. And I subscribe to Clark.com for several reasons. They have good repository on information from credit cards to travel ideas and great ways for consumers to save money. And this article on spam calls caught my attention. As you know, periodically we discuss this topic, but Clark and his crew really did a great job providing options that you should be aware of with regards to spam calls and your cell phone provider. For several years, spam calls were we received relatively few of them, and that's because of the National Do Not Call Registry, and it worked so well for a while, and legitimate companies were generally very compliant, and the violations that did occur were rare. Those that did violate the law were subject to heavy fines. While this isn't a perfect system, even today it is a good idea to add your number to the registry to reduce some of these infuriating calls. In 2020, the Federal Communications Commission issued a mandate for all voice service providers to implement robocall fighting. It's called stir and shaken technology. These two technologies came into play in recent years to assist you in identifying whether a call is legit. It's not perfect, and most of the carriers implement this technology. Unfortunately, the two technologies won't block out 100% of the robocalls. What they will do is show some mark of verification on your phone to indicate that the call is legitimately coming from the numbers you see displayed. Still, the number of spam calls continues to rise. More than 50 billion spam calls went out in 2022. That's staggering.
How do they know that?
I have no idea. Maybe they're the ones that created it. Anyway, according to UMail Robocall Index, and it's gotten to the point that you need every advantage to stay ahead of these scammers. So take a look at what's available to help you in the barrage of these calls. Comparing the major carriers on robocall blocking. All major carriers offer some kind of basic free protection along with paid upgrades. Here's a summary of what's available with the top three carriers. AT&T has Active Armor mobile security app. The Active Armor program includes automatic fraud blocking, suspected spam call alerts, additional device security, and more. AT&T's basic robocall blocking software is included for free with every plan. It includes auto fraud call blocking, spam risk blocking, nuisance call alerts and controls, unknown calls to voicemail, personal block list, device security, and breach reports. You can also upgrade to the advanced software for $3.99 a month per line. It includes all the key features of the basic software plus public Wi-Fi protection and a few other bells and whistles. T-Mobile also has a robocall blocking feature appropriately called Scam Shield to protect customers from unwanted spam calls. Its features include free scam ID and blocking, which will flag suspicious calls and let you block them. Free enhanced caller ID will show verification if it's a real person or business. A free second number is available so you can keep your personal number personal, and you can get a free number change if scammers do become problematic. While changing your number for all your friends and family may be a pain, it is a nice option to have. An upgraded service called Scam Shield Premium is available for $4 a month per line, free for customers with Magenta Plus. And Verizon offers both free and paid options to reduce unwanted robocalls in your life. They have what they call Call Filter, which helps to identify and block robocalls. Verizon customers get alerts when a spam call is suspected, and they can report the unsolicited numbers automatically. A paid upgrade called Call Filter Plus is $3.99 per month for one line and $10.99 per month for three or more lines. In addition to signing up for the National Robocall Registry and checking out the services that are free from your carrier, there's a ton of apps on the market that are targeted towards blocking robocalls. Unfortunately, not every call blocking app is free. Even the ones that are free are difficult to accurately compare, so you need to do your own research. The ones that I'm about to mention here have ratings between 4.2 and 4.7. Truecaller is a very highly rated app on the Google Play Store by millions of users, and it runs $9.99 per month and
annually.
And then Call Control offers call blocking in your phone and allows you to create a personalized block list like Truecaller. The features also included reverse lookup for spam numbers. Umail uses robust robocall index to identify bad numbers and block them from your phone. Other free features include accurate caller ID, custom voicemail greetings, and Hiya uses an algorithm that determines if the phone number making thousands of brief phone calls is legit or not. Additionally, the app users can report fraudulent phone numbers. And my final thoughts on this is what you can do to stop the spam calls is if you're in the habit of answering every one of your calls, stop. It's easy to fall prey to phone scams, and it's really easy for scammers to spoof numbers and make it look like the originator is someone other than the scammer's number. And with AI, the whole issue is only going to get more complicated. Sometimes you could pick up a call because it's coming from a company or firm that you actually work with, only to find out the call has been spoofed when you answer it. Right now, I let almost every call go to voicemail. If it's a real vendor, say your credit card company or a doctor, then they will leave a message and you can get back to them. And if it's a scammer, they're going to hang up. Just like an email where you don't open them, unless you know it's from a person that you know or a subscription or a vendor that you're familiar with. Calls are the same. You do not have to answer every call. Let them leave a message. Then you can decide on who you want to return the call to. I have a subscription to Novo Robo. I've had one in the past, actually, and because of the number of spam calls I got was just absolutely annoying. The program did a great job of stopping unwanted robo and spam calls. I let the renewal lapse because I wanted to see how the updated Verizon call filter works. So far, I would give it about an 8.5. I still get a good number of calls every day, but it's better than before, and at least now, Sherry, that they are marked with the title underneath the number, potential spam.
Right.
So, when I used to give cyber briefings, I would say you do not have to open every email you get because there's just too many people out there trolling for your information, and it just takes a little bit of information from them to make them sound legit when they're talking to you. If you get a phone call or you get an email, do not reply to it. Don't give anybody information.
Don't answer the phone.
And if you do happen to get into a phone call or an email like this, go directly to the company itself. A known phone number, a known email that you got, and make the response there. And
if you get an email that you're suspicious of, put your cursor over the email of where it's coming from. It could be a fake.
If they provide a link inside of an email, you can run your cursor over it and just let it sit there. And
don't click on it.
Yeah, because they can spoof a phone number.
Anything.
They can spoof an email address. So
I've had clients that were in for reviews, and they'll get a spam call and they'll answer it because they feel responsible.
Yeah.
Because they're concerned they're going to miss something. And they'll just go to voicemail. It doesn't matter. Just don't answer it.
Well, I watched a cyber briefing this last week, and they have the FBI data on the number of spam calls and the amount of money that's been stolen. And seniors are the most likely person to fall prey to a scammer, someone trying to steal their money. And I'm going to bring that in a couple of weeks. I'm going to do some more research on it, and we'll talk about it because it's just staggering. And each one of us have to be aware of what's going on around you, because if you don't, you too could be a victim. And I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what your education is. We know extremely smart people who have fallen prey to this, and it's just insane how good these guys are anymore.
You used to be able to tell because they couldn't type.
Right.
Now they're better at that. Yeah. And I can't imagine that it's going to get any worse with chatbot and all that.
Well, just this last week I got this very plain vanilla email, supposedly from Amazon, and it said your credit card could not be charged. There's an error. Click this link. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I went to Amazon, and sure enough, we had an error in our American Express card, and it was just in our name. When it was typed in there,
That's weird.
They misspelled our last name, so they couldn't charge because the name on the card.
How did our name get changed?
Well, we're the one who put it in, one of the two of us. So it's either you or you. I mean, I'm kidding.
I get stuff every week, though.
I know. It's kind of crazy, but someone actually looked at the name on the card versus, what's actually being reported by the credit card company. So
That's
the
weird.
two did not match up. So at least that one was legit. But I'm just saying that to highlight the fact that go to the vendor of record and go to their website to find out what you got. Anyway, let's move on.
Halftime.
Oh, geez.
Right?
That time already? All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody. You've been listening to Your Money with Randy and Sherry Goss with Rosenberg Financial Group. And if you'd like to call in today and to contribute to the show, the number is 478-742-0940, and we'll get you on the air. Rosenberg Financial Group has offices in Macon and Warner Robins, and you can learn more about us by visiting our website, retirerelax.com. We offer complimentary consultations, and setting up an appointment is really easy. Just call our office at 478-922-8100, and we also offer seminars to the community for free. So if you're looking for a guest speaker, give us a call, and we can find out what topics you'd like for us to cover.
So your Financial Independence Day topic today is regrets. So I recently met with a client that went all the way back to his teenage years to today and expressed all the things he wished he had done differently. Should have, could have, and if he had known better, would have. Didn't receive any guidance from his school or his parents, flailed around, but ended up with a very good education and a career and has saved a lot of money, and he is also not a spender, so he is set for life. I listened and added that I had very similar experiences. Heck, I grew up on a farm, and my dad just wanted me to marry a farmer. Can you imagine that? I was not interested in that lifestyle after getting
I don't know. I can kind of see you with a shovel and a pig stall.
Yeah, because that's where I was. I grew up on a farm, and so I wasn't interested in the lifestyle after getting up early every morning to go feed the pigs and then shoveling pig manure every week, let alone cutting all the grass, which is like 3 acres, and working in the garden every day of the summer, farming and shoveling snow in the winter. I mean, what fun is that? And that didn't even include the actual farming. So farming is a 24/7 job, at least it used to be.
Right.
It's so easy to get stuck on the past and what you could have or should have done, and it doesn't matter. You are where you are today, so all you can do is make the best decisions every day going forward. And yes, I made some stupid choices on the way, and I learned from them, and that's all you can do. Pass this knowledge on to your kids so they don't do the same stupid things.
Right. You know, and I think we all go through this, but at some point, you just have to let it go. It is what it is, and embrace where you are today and move forward. No, not really. I don't like to get caught up in the woulda, coulda process, though. I just like to look at the situation that I am in and currently and decide if I want to remain in that space. If not, I move on to the next thing. And if I do want to remain in that space, then I will look for ways to improve what and how I'm doing, just so I can make my life a little simpler and more fulfilling. And as the saying goes, hindsight is 20/20. You can't second guess everything you did. If you do, you're going to drive yourself crazy, and it's
a waste of energy.
And it's a waste of energy, and you're not going to get to the next level.
Yep.
So
focus on the future.
Learn from your past mistakes, obviously.
Right.
But move forward.
So I had a client in this week that mentioned this article to me, and I had not heard of this. It's a 2023 Property Tax Relief Grant. The one-time Property Tax Relief Grant is a budget proposal by Governor Brian Kemp to refund $950 million in property taxes back to homestead owners in the amended fiscal year 2023 budget. This proposal became law when Kemp signed it in March 13, 2023. The Property Tax Relief Grant may also be known as the Homestead Tax Relief Grant, with $950 million appropriated for the Department of Revenue in the amended fiscal year budget. The Department of Revenue will be able to reduce the assessed value of Georgia homesteads by $18,000.
Wow, that's great.
FAQs for property owners. How will local governments and property owners receive the money? Following preparations of property tax bills, local tax officials notify the Department of Revenue of the total anticipated revenue of all applicable millage rates were applied to all qualified homesteads. The local tax officials apply the Department of Revenue for this money. Good morning. You're on with Randy and Sherry. How are you today?
Good morning. How y'all doing?
We're
good.
Great.
How are you?
I'm good.
You called about the traffic cams last week, right?
Yes, I have another little warning for y'all.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Let's go ahead with the cameras. Heath Road, Weaver, and West Side have 2 cameras on that road.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to be aware. And both schools have the cameras. This is what I would call to tell y'all. I live out in the county, and they have a roundabout at Fullertonville and Eisenhower Parkway. The callers, everybody need to be very careful at that roundabout because people don't yield like they really could. And when you get at near that intersection, you better almost stop because These people making, I don't know what kind of driving they do, but I'm very concerned. They don't use signal lights,
right?
You know, and it's dangerous.
This is Eisenhower and what?
Eisenhower and Fulton Mill Road.
Is this the one where you go out of Macon under 475 and down there about a mile past Tractor Supply?
That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
I agree with you because people are barreling down that road, and they think they're better drivers than they are, and they're going into that turn, that circle, a little too fast. So I've seen a lot of skid marks down there.
That's right. I mean, it almost, whenever I get there, I just stop. If I'm at the intersection and somebody's there, I just stop and let them go because they ain't going to stop.
People need to remember that people in the circle have the right of way. You know, okay.
So I'll tell you, the next circle that I'm scared about is the one that they're building on
247 right down there at MLK
at the split.
And the split going to 75.
You're going to have logging trucks, giant trucks, little cars. You're going to have. I mean,
have you seen that one?
Oh my gosh, they're just starting the construction now.
Caller, you still there?
Oh,
he left us. I'm sorry, you left us. Anyway, take a look at that one if you're out looking at traffic circles. That one's going to be massive, and it's going to be precarious. You're going to have to get used to it. Traffic circles are here to stay. I mean, they've been in Europe for decades now, and they say it helps continue improve traffic flow. So just get used to them, everybody. Know the rules of the road with those. Because
and don't expect other people to stop.
That's right. I think the caller's right. You know, you best be more cautious. Defensive mode. That's right.
So back to a little bit about the property tax rebate. The Department of Revenue issues credits appropriated by the General Assembly to the local taxing authorities. The credit cannot exceed liability once all applicable homestead exemptions and millage rollbacks have been applied. Appropriations of funds is conditional on local tax authorities reducing a taxpayer's liability, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so expect to hear more from this in the fall when your tax bill comes out.
Now, here's an interesting thing that I came across this last week. It's Amazon wants you to start paying with your palm. So here's what they have to say. Amazon has a new way to try to make itself a central part of your life, your hand. By the end of this year, you will be able to scan the palm at any of the company's more than 500 Whole Foods stores in the U.S. and join a service called Amazon One. Once enrolled, your hand is all you need to pay. Amazon Fresh grocery stores, some Panera restaurants, and a handful of retailers at airports and stadiums and concert venues, and a handful of, no pun intended, of Starbucks locations are also going to use this technology. At places where the company's hand scanning sensors are installed, you can already use it to enter a venue, identify yourself as a member of a loyalty program, or verify your age at a bar.
So this does away with fake IDs.
I know. Have to come up with something else. That's pretty funny.
Fake hand.
Right. In the future, you might be able to gain access to your company's offices, parking garages, or gym, or sign in at a hospital or a doctor's office. Lord, I'd love to be able to do that in my doctor's office instead of filling out every time I go, filling out all these forms.
I don't understand those forms.
Anyway, Amazon's expansion of the biometric technology, which it unveiled in 2020, is an effort to compete with Google and especially Apple. It won't be easy, though. Despite the multiple attempts, Amazon has mostly failed at becoming a payment service provider like PayPal and Apple or Square. Apple has spent almost 9 years building Apple Pay into a business with at least $2 billion in revenue, and a key way to keep people locked into its iPhone ecosystem. Unlike Google and Apple, Amazon hasn't succeeded in making multiple devices and operating systems. So in essence, it's trying to make them unnecessary. But Amazon once represents something bigger than payments. It is Amazon's almost ambitious attempt to become a full identity provider. A sort of universal digital skeleton key that can be identified to pretty much anything, including eventually health records.
Doing all this is absurdly ambitious. Were Amazon a startup, such an attempt would be laughable on its face, but this is Amazon, a company with the kind of resources and patience that allowed it to go from being a giant in e-commerce to also being the world's leading provider of cloud computing. Companies that become the identity provider for a person also get the opportunity to sell them other goods and services and integrate themselves deeper into their customers' lives in many ways.
That's right. Amazon said its system has been used more than 3 million times without ever confusing one person for another, though occasionally it does fail to recognize someone who has enrolled.
That's probably because they had hand lotion on.
It could be. The underlying technology has been around for more than a decade. It uses near-infrared light to peer through the hand and capture the unique patterns of blood vessels inside it as well as the surface of the palm. So, do you want this, Sherry?
I really like the cornea scan that Clear does at the airport.
Oh, my God, I hate that thing.
You do?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Because you got to adjust it to be the right.
The person has to stand there.
Yeah, and if you're 6'2", you see all these guys that are tall bending over to get their eyes down, and then it's slow technology.
Okay, I'll embrace the hand.
Yeah. So yes to the hand, Sherry.
So yeah, imagine going through. If we could go through TSA with a hand and not have to take your shoes off and everything. And I'm a terrorist.
Right.
That would be nice. Anyways, so new tax rules that could save you thousands on home renovations. This is another one that came up this week. Many Americans will save thousands of dollars on home renovations when new rebates for a range of energy-efficient upgrades kick in later this year. Buyers will receive the rebates as part of a $9 billion with a B federal program passed by Congress in last summer's Inflation Reduction Act. Household savings can range from hundreds of dollars for single items such as an electric cooktop or dryer to $8,000 for a heat pump or cutting home energy use by 35% or more. Those planning such projects may want to hold off until the program begins. These rebates are intended to boost conversion of more homes to energy-efficient technologies at a time when scorching temperatures and other extreme weather have raised the cost of cooling, heating, and powering homes. The average U.S. household energy costs in June, July, and August will rise nationwide by 11.7% to $578.
That's high.
Wait a minute. The average U.S. household energy cost,
Yep.
It doesn't say, is it those 3 months or by month? Well,
This is for June, July, and August.
So it must
the
be
average
for 3
nationwide
months.
is
okay.
Yeah.
Compared with last year, according to the National Energy Assistance Directors Association. That sounds like a really fun group of people to hang out with.
I was just thinking that.
The rebates are also meant to offset the impact inflation has had on the cost of renovations, energy policy analysts said. A low-income household defined as below 80% of an area's median income could claim up to $22,250 to fully cover energy efficiency upgrades. A moderate-income household, $19,000. Above that, a higher income household, $7,200. Anyways, you can learn more by going online and you can just Google new tax rules can save you thousands on home renovations.
Yep. The Internal Revenue Service issued guidance last week specifying that the audit must identify the most significant and cost-effective energy improvements, including an estimate of the energy and the cost savings to each improvement. Taxpayers can get a $150 credit for a $500 audit.
And you have to get the audit before you start the rebate program, or you're not going to get a dime.
Yep, and by doing this audit this year, you can have a plan in place for when the state does roll out this program.
So use apps to help crunch the numbers. Rewiring America has an Inflation Reduction Act calculator that lets you plug in your family income and zip code. It also produces a list of available upfront rebates and tax credits. And again, that was Rewiring America. Claiming the Energy Efficient Home Improvement Tax Credit. It is an annual credit, meaning you could take it 1 year for putting in new windows and another year for adding insulation. You can claim improvements made in 2023 on IRS Form 5695 when you file your taxes next year. You can't get back more than you owe in taxes, and you can't carry forward any excess to future tax years.
Yep. Very good, Jerry. In the past, we've talked about I-bonds and buying them because the interest rates are going up. But now you need to know how to maximize Series I-bond redemptions amid falling inflation. Investors piled into a Series I-bonds amid record deals, and some are now eyeing an exit for higher interest alternatives. But redeeming I-bonds can be tricky. After reaching 9.62% annual interest rate in May 2022, I-bond yields have declined with the falling inflation, reaching 4.3% interest for new purchases between May and October. The latest consumer price index data supports the downward trend, with annual inflation rising 3.2% in July. However, the U.S. Department of Treasury still needs 2 months of CPI readings before the next I-bond rate change. I-bond yields have two parts: a fixed rate that stays the same after the purchase, and a variable rate which changes every 6 months based on inflation. The Treasury Department announces new rates every May and November. One of the big downsides of purchasing I-bonds is that you can't access the money for at least 1 year, but there's another sneaky little pitfall. A 3-month interest penalty will be waiting for you if you sell the asset within 5 years of purchase. So if you're thinking about redeeming this year, you want to make sure that you're getting the full 6 months of 6.48% interest before you sell. When selling I-bonds within 5 years, it's easy to get confused about how much interest you're giving up. That's because the yield resets every 6 months, starting on the purchase date, not when the Treasury Department announces the rate adjustments. For example, if you bought the I-bonds last July when the annual rate was 9.62, your interest rate didn't drop to 6.48 until this January, and your rate didn't decline to 3.38 until last month. You can find the rate. By purchase date here on their website at the USTreasury.gov. And if you bought in April 2022, don't be upset about the new rate because it won't affect you until October. You also need to consider the timing of when to sell, because if you don't earn because you don't earn interest until you've held the bonds for a full month. There's no partial month of interest in the world of I-bonds, meaning that it's better to cash out at the beginning of a month rather than the last few days, if possible.
A lot of my clients have bought them.
Yep, I have one.
So I thought this was very interesting. Learning a language may stave off dementia, but are apps the way to go. So they have proven that learning a new language can delay the onset of dementia, but can an interactive language app do the trick? Duolingo, Babbel, and others have been growing in popularity among older adults looking to pick up languages for travel as well as for sharpening their brains. Numerous studies suggest bilingual people develop dementia later than monolingual people do. You don't have to achieve fluency to benefit, research shows. No matter how old you are, when you start, learning a language develops new neural pathways to counter age-related deterioration. The critical thing is to gain a lot of practice and immerse yourself in it as much as possible, says John Grundy, an assistant professor of psychology at Iowa State University. In 2020, Grundy and his colleagues published an analysis of the research that's been done on bilingualism and cognitive decline. Their analysis found that being bilingual was correlated with a 4 to 6 year delay in dementia symptoms. I find that amazing.
Right. Teens and young adults are the biggest users of language learning apps, but older adults tend to use them more frequently and stick with them longer. People who use Babbel for at least an hour a week made up the largest proportion of users 55 and older. Nearly 30% of users age 60 and older have maintained year-long streaks on the app, with many saying they use it for brain training. The appeal of these apps is clear, especially for older people. You can learn from home at little or no cost. You can process steadily even if you don't have friends nearby or family to practice with, and you don't have to find a person in a class or buy a plane ticket to a far-off land. Learning on this app is not as good as moving to France, but an amount of language learning does help your brain.
Lenore Rosenbluth, a 77-year-old in Roxbury, New Jersey, uses Duolingo multiple times a day. For her, who formerly taught college-level languages, it's more than just a way to burnish the French, Spanish, and Japanese skill. She was diagnosed 3 years ago with multiple system atrophy, a rare degenerative neurological disorder that affects her speech and mobility. She says practicing languages helps her feel less lonely and isolated. Social isolation is a major cause of major cause of cognitive decline. The app has become her fallback activity.
Right. In older adults, higher order thinking improved after using Duolingo for 16 weeks, one study found. Grundy from Iowa State says his review controlled for demographic variables and other influences that can affect cognitive decline. He and colleagues are now completing a review of research on how language learning affects white matter in the brain's information highway. They found that bilingual people have stronger white matter concentrations. Still, physical exercise is the best thing to do to improve brain health. Having friends working at mentally challenging jobs and treating hearing loss can also help cognition. The use it or lose it adage applies just as much to brain fitness as it does a physical fitness, doctors say, which I agree with. 100%.
I agree with the hearing loss. That is a major problem when you are isolated and you can't have conversations or understand or hear what other people are saying.
Yep.
And I don't know the status of the whole hearing aid thing. They were going to be on the open market.
Well,
I need to look into that.
A couple of weeks ago, we talked about 3 that are out there. They're all in the $3,500 to $4,000 price range per ear, and but they are more, cots, commercial off the shelf than they used to be. So
I need to look on Amazon and see what they have.
Yeah.
That's because a lot of people, the hearing loss is a big problem. So anyways, check out the apps, and it was Duolingo and Babbel. I'm going to check them out this weekend because it makes me curious. I think it'd be kind of fun to do on the side. I know you've wanted to learn Spanish for a long time, right?
Yeah, right now I just don't have another hour in a day.
I know, I don't either, but I'm going to check it out and do some research. Anyways, a survey found that many Americans haven't discussed their last wishes.
And this is a big deal, everybody.
A new survey reveals that almost a third of Americans have not discussed their last wishes with anyone, leading to family conflicts over a loved one's death. Additionally, what's wrong with us today? Nearly half of the respondents are unsure about how to create a will. Of the nearly 6 in 10 survey respondents who did not have a will, more than 3/4 said they considered creating one, and almost half said they didn't have one because they don't know where to go get one, according to legal service providers. 79% of respondents said they thought they needed a will, and 90% said having one was important. But it is always amazing when we see people who are in their 80s without a will. Dying intestate, meaning without a will, can cause problems for anyone left behind. Families may battle in court over the deceased estate. Please take action if you do not have a will or have your affairs in order. And while you're at it, please look at the beneficiaries on your life insurance policies and investment accounts. The last thing you need is for the money to go to the wrong people and create a family nightmare.
That's right.
And if you own property, you have to have a will so that property transfers. And I've had a number of people asked me recently about just gifting the property now. And I've explained if you gift the property, it's not as nice as inheriting, because when you inherit that property, you get a step up in cost basis to the date of its value, and you can turn around and sell it and pay no taxes.
What products can you get online at Emory Law?
Oh, Emory Law, if you search Emory Law free POA, you can get a free fillable power of attorney and a free fillable advance directive. And if you go to LegalZoom.com or NOLO.com, you can do a will. What do we pay to do that? Help that guy? $75?
It was a little more than that, like $139, but it was a really good will.
It was just fill in the blank. You can do it on your computer and then take it to your bank and have it notarized. Power of attorney needs to be notarized. Advance directives do not. But everybody needs to have all 3 things. While you're living, the advance directive determines what level of care you receive if something major happens to you.
That's right.
And you put your final wishes of funeral and burial in that document, and then you give it to the person that's going to be in charge. A power of attorney kicks into effect if you become incapacitated in some way and want someone else to be able to step in and handle your finances, selling your house, all of those things. The will kicks in upon your death. Upon your death, power of attorney, advance directive, or null and void. That's when your will kicks in, and that's what completes the final execution of all of your everything and who it's going to go to. You got to make sure this stuff is up to date and right. So if you have elderly parents, you probably are scared to ask them, but you need to have the conversation and say, do you guys have all this stuff ready? And in fact, where is it? And am I the executor? I mean, tell me if something happens to you, what it is that I'm going to do and need to find.
You know, your relatives, your parents especially, might not be willing to tell you if you're in the will and if you're going to get how much or whatever. But if you're going to be responsible to manage their estate upon their death, you really need to know that you're the guy.
And you need to know where everything is. Tax records on the property, valuations. I had a call just yesterday from someone who's becoming power of attorney for an individual that has dementia. And they just found out that there's 2 more pieces of land they didn't know about. And they don't know where the records are. Or where this, I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? They have dug through the house and cannot find more information on this. And so it's just a disaster, and it's a nightmare. And it's also potential losses, because if you don't know where anything is, how are you going to put it on the market and sell it and make any money after the person's death, and if you don't want the property?
That's right.
It's not a good thing to do to your family. So please get your affairs in order.
That's right. Why don't you tell them a little bit about the Life book? You got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, go on our website, retirerelax.com, and click on Special Reports and go to My Life book. And it's a book that I wrote back in 2007, and it walks you through all the things you need to do to have your affairs in order. It walks you through why you need a will, why you need a power of attorney, why you need an advance directive, where are all your documents. You can document where everything is. You can, your final wishes, what funeral home do you want to use, do you want to be buried or cremated. I mean, all of this stuff, you can lay all of this thing out in there. And
it's free. Just go download it.
It's absolutely free. You print it out, fill it out, and give it to the next of kin that's going to be in charge of everything so that they know what's going to happen.
That's right. Anyway, we're at the end of the show. It's hard to believe. Thanks for listening to Your Money, produced by Rosenberg Financial Group. As financial advisors, the main thing that we do is provide retirement planning and advice and manage our clients' investment accounts. So if you're looking for a financial advisor, please contact our office and set up your complimentary consultation. Our number is 478-922-8100, and you can learn more about us by visiting our website, retirerelax.com.
Very good. Have a great weekend.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Osaic Wealth Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Osaic Wealth is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Osaic Wealth.